Thank you so much. I'm glad that everyone stand up because we all need a stretch. So great. What can I say? I'm very grateful and happy to be here in Greece for the first time. And I always heard about the Greek philosophy, the one of the modern philosophy that came from this land, right? So this is a land that has a great history where a lot of reasoning, a lot of logical deduction, a lot of those concept came from this land. So I definitely love the history that you guys have, the culture you guys have. Obviously, I haven't explored this country yet, but I'm totally grateful to be here. Now, before I speak about the presentation, I was just listening to Giorgio, and I don't often see him, because I'm not always in the events, and seeing him presenting the product, I kind of had a proud moment because, when you're working in the field, when you're working, building a business and distribution, and at the same time, to understand the concept of the product, but not just the concept, to be able to explain it that well, right? So let's give a big, massive applause to Giorgio. I think about 1 year ago, we spoke in Vienna, I believe. Vienna, we spoke about there was only like 3 leaders at the time, 3 or 4 leaders. Budapest, yes, Budapest. And yeah, to see, where you guys coming from, right, as a very small team, and to see full of house is an incredible feat. And I think to pull an event like this, it requires many hands, right? And so I want to show you my massive respect to all the leaders who put this through. So give it my big massive round of applause to you guys, yeah? Now, just a bit about myself. Those of you guys don't know me, my name is Ehsaan. I'm in this IT industry and the software space for the last 15 years. Majority of my time I spent in the corporate world. And it's been 7 years where I'm part of a, let's say, hybrid industry, right? This direct selling industry and also still in the software space. But the amount of impact that I see in 7 years, I think I would not able to see if I was, for my rest of my life, if I was continuing in my corporate career. So I'm super grateful to see, not just that this is a great industry, but also to see that people are actually getting value, right? This is not a hype train where you just, everybody's hyped and selling something that doesn't really have a substance, doesn't really have a lot of value. So to see that is an incredible moment for me. Now, I know typically I speak about the products, talk about the future. And last night I was thinking, okay, what should I speak about? Because I know I typically talk about the updates, talk about what are the things we are working on. And I believe in this room there are a lot of people, let's just say, in this company in the last 3 months. Raise your hand if you're here if you started in the last 3 months, right? There's quite a bit of people. Raise your hands if you're completely brand new and you don't have much exposure to the product yet. Okay, there are some people. So before I speak about that, I want to talk about something that I think you all are familiar with, right? I want to speak about train. I want to talk about railways. Have you guys been on a train before? Right? Pretty much everybody, right? I'm sure here you have a lot of railways, but I want to take you like 150 years ago, right? I want to talk about in the late 1800s, right? In terms of how train became a mainstream vehicle to go from, one city to another city, even countries. And it was one of the fastest transportation of that time. And as much as it is a very, very innovative invention for humans to travel, but it also was running on a very fragile system at that time. So I'm not sure if you guys read it in this school, where when they are talking about train, when train goes from one train station to another station, it has to stop. But we all know train takes a while before it can stop, right? The train driver has to brake the train, and then gradually it stops at the train station. Well, at that time, they didn't really have a switch or like a brake paddle where the driver could just push and train would stop, right? They had something called the brakeman. And if you guys know about the brakeman, is that he would start from he would climb up top of the train, right? Top of the roof of the train. And just before the station, he would go on each car. So you have a segment of train, right? And he'd go into each segment and he has to manually, right, stop the wheel of each car, right? So he'd go from one segment to another segment to another segment. Now, as you can imagine, whether it is raining, whether there's a snow, the train has to stop. And they would have a train staff, which is known as the brakeman. He would go on top of each train. And as you can imagine how dangerous that is. And rightfully so, at that time, it is common for collision to happen. It is common for a lot of the brakemans to die, right? Trying their best to stop the train. Because sometimes it's not possible, right? Train is moving, they have to climb to the top of the roof of the train, and they have to stop the train. At that time, it was a norm, it was a status quo, right? That's just how it is. Yes, transportation helps us go from one destination to another destination, but collision or the rise of people dying who are working for these companies was pretty normal. So there was one particular individual, he refused to believe that, there is no other way, right? And his name was George Washington. And he decided there must be a way where train could be stopped without needing a brakeman. So he proposed a system, a completely new system to stop the train. Right? He proposed it to all the train companies that, hey, we could potentially, stop, more people from dying. We don't need a brakeman to stop the train. When the companies looked at it, it looked very complex. It looked expensive to build something, right, to stop the train. So majority of the companies, they were like, it's okay. System is working, train is working. Why try to reinvent something? Yes, some people die, right? But we are profitable. Everything is working fine. So some companies adopted his idea, and something amazing happened. All those companies who implemented this new system, the accident has went down significantly, right? It became much more reliable, it became much more safer, it became much more scalable. And naturally, all the companies, right, start to implement the system. So what is the moral of this story? Is that you can't fix a dangerous system by training people to be braver. You fix it by giving them a better system to stand on. Does that make sense? So why am I sharing this story? We know this financial world, this trading world, it's been there almost 200 years. And as the technology gone better, right, as the time went by, more people, at least in the retail industry, right, in last 20 years, we can see millions of people pouring into this industry. But everybody doing something different. There is no system, there is no proper foundation for people to follow. And typically, if you want to self-educate yourself, you are pretty much in a chaotic web of information. There's more noises, more confusion. Naturally, as more people come into the industry, there's also a lot of outflow, right? Because people are confused, people end up making wrong decisions, and so on. You are pretty much have people with no experience or they have their own agenda, or they probably want to sell a course, right? Giving information, telling you and selling you courses where they don't necessarily have any verifiable information, right? If you go to YouTube, if you search about certain things, right? I'm not saying there are people who are credible, but as a new person, it becomes very difficult to distinguish the difference because you don't have a foundation to even verify what these people are saying. So essentially, there is no structure, right? There is no system, there is no method where you can just go in and evaluate and make a better decision. So this essentially is a knowledge problem itself, right? Because if you just have enough information, even if you get into, let's just say, an amazing course and you learn a lot of stuff, it alone is not enough because the financial world is fragmented in 3 different places, right? One is the education. Yes, it's important. But second thing, this education is to be complemented, right, with a battle-tested system, right, that actually has a lot of practical tools, a lot of practical use cases that can support that. So you can say, like, a lot of people say, nowadays negative things about university, but I know the university is incredible in terms of the structure they have, right? They still have a very good structure. Yes, they may not necessarily equip people with all the real-world experience, but there is a level of structure in place that is built over hundreds and hundreds of years. When it comes to financial world, we still even do not see the basic structure in place, right? So what is the main problem? What is the root problem here? Is that the foundation itself is broken. And this is a primary example of a train system where imagine you have 3 brakemen, right? So you have one brakeman that may die trying to stop the train to solve the problem. Then you can have 2 more guys as a backup, right? And they may even die to try to stop the train, right? So you're not really solving the fundamental problem. You're just creating patches, right? You're trying to fix a problem on a broken foundation, right? So if you have a massive building, right, and you try to decorate it, you try to make it look nice, but if the root is pretty much broken, it's not going to be sustained. So what people need is not another education course alone. It's not just another trading channel, right? What they need is a new foundation, a new method, a new approach to the financial world. Because that's going to help people, especially everyday people, to skip years of trials and error, years of trials and tribulations, so that it can give them a head start, right? So that's why 7 years ago, we really had this mission, right? And that mission was helping everyday people and professionals access global markets through an ecosystem that supplies everything they possibly need. Now, I spoke about 15 minutes, but the mission is only 2 sentences. Because once you understand the crux of the issue, right, it shouldn't be complicated to explain. It's simple enough to demonstrate in terms of what is it that we need to build. So that's essentially the mission that we have. Now, this is a mission solely focused on building the products. So everything that we do, it has to be backed by our mission. So a lot of the updates that you guys see are all driven through that mission. And of course, our vision when it comes to the ecosystem that we're building is to define a future trading and education through an ecosystem where anyone can design, test, and automate strategies from simple to even institutional level. I know people are new, right? But there are different levels to it. Whether you're a beginner, whether you're professionals, this is an ecosystem that supports all types of groups of people. Because eventually, if you start as a beginner, you will eventually become a professional. But having a mission and having a vision and having an idea is not alone enough. We have to follow certain principles. Everything that we do when it comes to building this ecosystem is followed through these principles, which keeps us checked, which keeps our team in check, right? If we are building, is it going to really help win our customers? Do we have any conflict of interest? For example, if I'm a Binance exchange today, right? What is the goal of Binance? Is to generate revenues. And if they generate revenues, their business model gives them profit through fees, right? So the main interest is get customers in, generate revenue, right? And make profits. When it comes to our interest is get customers in and help them succeed. Customers are not giving money to us. We are building a product where we want to increase the probability of success. So that's why you see we are probably one of the few companies that relentlessly executing every single month, relentlessly pushing updates, right? Why? To serve the best interest of our customers. There's a level of care that gets put in so the products continues to become better, and it keeps us aligned that anything that we do is not creating conflict of interest, right? So that's very important. We care about security, we care about compliance. I think Giorgio explained it pretty much very, very well. We are not positioning ourselves to people where they are mispromoting the products and services, where we are providing some kind of investment scheme and so on. That's not what our platform does. We equip people with the tools and battle-tested systems in a real world where they can take that and use it in the market to increase the probabilities of success so that they don't have to spend years trying to come to the conclusion that, oh, I need this system, or I need this strategy, or this is what I need for my psychology in trading, right? So this is what this principle allows us to do. Now, I spoke about a strong foundation. So what does the foundation looks like, right? This is what the foundation looks like. It's truly a self-sustained ecosystem. Because what we are saying is that when you get onboarded, right, you just don't learn about theories. You immediately apply your knowledge into practice. How many times you probably even went to schools and colleges where you spent hours and hours on theories without actually putting yourself in the market, right? So it's essentially a three-triangle here, and it's very simple, right? You have the education, right, which is not just any education. Every course is backed with an educator who has years of experience. So any person that we bring in the education platform, they have to be vetted, they have to be verified, they have to be credible, right? They're not just anybody. And then they need to be able to teach, go on a live session, help the customers, and so on. And then at the same time, you can use the platform, which is SageMaster, to apply that knowledge, right? Where you don't have to create something, let's just say, from scratch, where you don't have to know every single technical intricacies, because that's already done. And of course, we have built at DeepSage a platform that has so much more potential than what you see today. And we're going to speak about that in our convention a lot. But essentially, DeepSage is what's going to help you, guide you at any point of time. And when all those three things works together, something amazing happens, right? You see these dots? This is the community. And the reason there's a community that gets formed, right, is because people tend to gather together when they see structure, when they see that they can actually grow. That's just human psychology, right? And for 7 years, this community has continued to grow because of not just the ecosystem, but because of the amazing, amazing leadership that we have, amazing leaders we have in this room, right? So yeah, I'm just super, super happy to see where the company has come so far. Now, if you're someone who's completely new, right, you're still trying to figure out, you're still trying to navigate. I think Giorgio touched a few important points there, but I would say it's essentially a few different steps, right? And all those 3 steps can be done in parallel, right? You can learn by getting onboarded. That takes 15 minutes. And then you can activate everything on a demo account. So you don't have to necessarily spend weeks and months studying. I'm saying on this day 1, you can do all those 3 things, right? You can learn, you can activate, right? And then you can start testing different strategies as you learn. Because the technology that we created are not based on some theory, but based on taking real-world example, and you can apply them immediately, right? And of course, I suggest if you're new, you should join our community. Join the live sessions, join the Discord. I'm myself there. I talk to a lot of the customers directly on Discord because it helps us understand what the customers are asking, what they need, right? Because we truly care about the customers. Now, when I'm talking about onboarding, I'm just talking about like giving people enough information that is easy to digest. So one of the initiatives we have taken recently is that, yes, on the WOW platform, we onboard people, we give them education, but we want to make it even more self-explanatory. What I mean by that is that when someone even goes to any of this platform, they should already understand how to drive it, right? They should already understand the concept very, very quickly. So we are pushing a lot of new updates. So this is one of the new updates that's going to be pushed. So when you log into the platform, you will get onboarded immediately on SageMaster itself. Currently, you have to go to the WOW, get onboarded, which is great. But if you want to extend the knowledge further, right, you go to the WOW platform, right? So that's something that's getting launched. When I'm talking about strategies, right, I'm talking about strategy like Giorgio showed earlier, like Basket is something for new beginners that you can immediately activate. Now, when we create this product, we take it very seriously in terms of, is it really serving its purpose? Is it really showing the intended result that we hoped for before we released it to the customers? That's very, very important for us. So when we launched the first version of Basket, that was last year, and the second version this year, before we invest all our money, resources, and time, we had to see, is it really giving the results that's needed for people? Because it doesn't make sense if we want to spend so much time and then it's not really working for people. But because we received so much feedback from customers, that's why we worked on the next version, right? Imagine you get iPhone 15 and then nobody's buying, iPhone 18 that's going to come out and nobody's buying. It doesn't make sense for Apple to continue to invest in that. But the reason people buy it, because iPhone works, right? So we take a lot of the analytics, we look at the data, we look at who's using it, from which country, right? What is the allocation amount, right? Are they having a good success? We take all this into consideration, and that's how we plan the next update, right? When I'm talking about backtest, even on Basket, which Giorgio showed you, you can see in real time, right? Whether 5 years, 3 years, to actually make a firm decision. When I'm talking about strategies, I'm talking about strategies like Omni Assist. Because many people think, okay, I've learned the concept of the trading, now I need to create a strategy. In real world, what happens is that people try to, follow other people's strategies, right? They don't have the opportunity to at least become creative. So Omni Assist is a strategy that we created based on some of the already existing concept that's already applied by institutions like JP Morgan, Like, for example, they would use the concept of DCA, right, to invest in various different assets. But they are using huge amount of funds, which an average person doesn't have. So we had to be creative where we created a strategy that takes all those things into account so that it can lower the barrier of access to this kind of institutional tools, right? So OmniAssist is a hybrid strategy, right? I'm sure you'll learn more when you go into the platform, but it's truly a powerful strategy that will help you configure to run in all market conditions, right? In real trading world, many people can be successful when the market is in a good trajectory, right? You don't need a special strategy like S&P 500. You know it has a very good trend. That's all it is. But when you're dealing with overall market, right, you do not necessarily have that information. And OmniAssist is a strategy that can work in the bear market, that can work in the bull market, and you can configure it in so many different ways, right? And of course, you can backtest it. And again, we look at the data, we look at the success of this strategy, and it has been incredible. We have one of the highest retention. When I say retention, I mean the people who started in early 2025 using OmniAssist and the people who are using it today. What is the percentage of people stopped using it versus the percentage of people are still using it? That's a very important number. So the retention, I believe it was around 90%. I'm not sure if it's showing on this slide, right? So this is an incredible, incredible leap that we have seen. And of course, backtest is super, super important, guys, right? If you're taking this seriously, right, backtest is super important because backtest tells you, like, if you were to run this strategy 2 years ago, 3 years ago, or within a very specific period of time, how would it have performed? And it takes real-time market data, right, and it simulates it and shows you. It doesn't say, hey, this is going to be the exact result, it's going to be on the future, but it gives you a visual demonstration of the probabilities. Because in the trading world, it's all about probabilities. Whoever has the higher probabilities of success, they are more likely to be successful. If he tomorrow go ask Warren Buffett, the company that he invested in last month, can he for sure knows that it's going to become a $1 billion company or it's going to give him 20%, 30% yield? He would not say. He will absolutely say, I don't know. That's what he's going to say. But if you then ask him, okay, what made you invest in the company? He's going to give you his indicators. He's going to tell you what are the tools that he used to, increase the probability of his success, right? If anybody in this world telling you that they will guarantee you 20% PNL, 30%, 50%, they are lying to you. Even JP Morgan tomorrow would not say that I know what's going to happen in the market tomorrow, right? So that's very important to be educated, right? So that you don't get duped into some kind of scheme and then you regret it later, right? So what we are providing is full transparency. Every single strategy that's shown, we explain the logic, we explain the structure, and if someone wants to build this strategy, they can, but it requires a lot of complication. It requires a good infrastructure to build it and make it scalable. That's the part that we're doing, right? So we're not hiding something saying, oh, we have this special box and you don't get to see what is the strategy and how it is working. We explain how our AI works, right? So everything is very, very transparent, right? We also recently released an update where it's going to be so much more easier for people to measure if a strategy is good or not, right? It's just one metric, which is called SPM score. So things like this help you save huge amount of time using a platform like that. You can even have an external strategy connected to SageMaster, and then SageMaster will give a score to tell you how good or bad it is. Now, it's not going to be a rocket science where you have to know every single details, but this indicators is enough for you to make a good decision, right? Again, DeepSage is an incredible platform. We have so many amazing things coming. I'm not going to share too much right now, but again, we look at the usage of Deep Sage, how people are using it, right? We can see a trend right now, a lot of people using Deep Sage, and we're going to continue to put more effort and work. Deep Sage is one of the platforms where essentially it can connect to your SageMaster account. It can help you answer questions about your own data, right? And most importantly, it has a co-pilot that can assist you analyze the market. But the new updates that's going to come in 2026, that's going to completely transform that experience, which I'm going to share it in the convention. So I hope you guys there in the convention. Now, I'm speaking right now to make sure that I'm not saying anything that may sound overcomplicated. I'm trying my best. But, SageMaster is not just for everyday people, right? But what's fascinating, we're trying to tailor the experience, such a complex, part of the world, in a more simplified manner to anyone who are not even, interested probably in this world, right? When it comes to the financial world. But it's not just for the beginners. It's also for the professional traders. So we have the tools. I met a lot of we don't have so many professional traders as much as the beginners, but the ones that join the ecosystem, join this company, they tell me how much time it is saving them, right? Because we are building tools to support both groups of people, right? For example, in Magic Terminal, you have access to, all the liquidity, all the data providers. You can do, backtest. You can run a strategy, which you cannot do, by the way, on a MetaTrader mobile app, right? You can use the MetaTrader 4, MetaTrader 5 app, right? The ones that's used by millions of people. But when you use Magic Terminal, it's essentially replacement for the MetaTrader 4, MetaTrader 5, right? Because it's much more intuitive. And of course, I'm going to speak about how we're going to make this even more accessible for people in the end, right? One of the other things that we have launched recently is that we want to make sure we are using AI responsibly, and we want to make sure we are giving, access to our customers where they can actually benefit from. That's why we launched the AI Help Center, where you can go, even a public person can actually go to the site and ask any question about the platform, how the platform works, to explain certain strategies. So it's not like you have to be a customer to go there and learn about it, right? So it's a public site that you're able to access. Now, before I finish this part of the section, I think I'm running, I have 15 minutes. Key thing to understand, guys, is that when you join this opportunity, right? When you join, whether you want to build a distribution, whether you want to become a customer, you have to think that this is not just a product that you use and see if it works, but it's truly a career building opportunity, right? Because, for example, earlier, Giorgio explained that you go to university, and the reason you go to university because you have this dopamine, right? Do you guys know what dopamine is? Right? Dopamine is what allows us to do what we want to do. And the reason we get dopamine is because we are in love with the outcome, right? Reason we wake up every day to do what we do, not necessarily because it's difficult. We don't enjoy because it's difficult, but because we enjoy the outcome, right? The reason a mother wants a second baby, right? It's a difficult process, right? The entire pregnancy process is extremely difficult, a human being can bear. But despite that, like probably after the first baby, maybe no, they say that. But then it's like they want a second baby because of the joyful moment they're going to have after, right? So when you go to university, every single day, right, you don't see the reward immediately. University is not paying you money, right, every day for you attending the class, right? You are going there because you are in love with the idea that in 3 years after the graduation, you will do X, Y, Z, right? So likewise, when you're coming in here, don't just look at the results of today. Don't look at your day one. Think about 6 months from now on. Think about a year from now on. Because remember, financial world is a trillion-dollar industry, and I have not seen any successful individuals, whether in entrepreneurship, whether in the financial market, where they just became successful overnight because it just happened accidentally, right? Those who truly stayed patient and used a good ecosystem like ours, they are able to have much more higher probability of success because the outcome is much more rewarding than looking at what you get today, right? So that's something that I would definitely say is something to keep in mind when you're using all the products and services, right? Now, let's see how familiar you guys are with the brands, right? Can anyone guess what is the name of this app? Anyone in the room? Okay, so it looks like it's very interesting. I was in another event and I asked the same question, and in that entire crowd knew what that was, right? But here, not many people know, and it's okay. It's just get to show that company is pushing updates relentlessly, right? There's always things that are happening every single month to improve the products and services. So what I'm going to share right now, yes, it is Sintra. Well done. And the question is, does anybody know what this is, though? What is the product? Okay, it is not a new product. Has anyone heard of the app Shift, Titan? Anyone? Okay. You probably heard of Relic, all these different apps. So we decided that we want to make the experience even more intuitive, more friendly, and best way to do it is to bring simplicity, right? Simplicity always wins no matter how complex things are. I think the hardest part is when you want to convert complexity into simplicity, right? So these other three apps, I call it the dinosaur apps because they've been here for the last 6 years. And we decided to, let's just say, end their life, right? It's the end of those three apps, and we're going to convert it into one unified app. So we're not creating entirely a new product, we are reinventing it. And Sintra will come with many different features, also service. It's going to include the stock market, which you don't see. And of course, it's going to have a much better experience, much more intuitive, much more faster. It's going to use all the modern technology that we use on SageMaster. So yeah, it's going to be super, super fun. We're going to launch it in 2026 in the convention. So that's something that we're working on. How about guess this one? Let's see if you guys can guess this one. Can you guys see it? No? It's too much light. Yeah, it has this... Okay. It looks like SageMaster. Yeah. So SageMaster is not a new app, right? It's something that we've been using. What do you guys think this is? All right. It is a mobile app. It's time for a mobile app. Because, we've been focused heavily on the development to make, the platform easy and provide with a lot of rich features and experience. And right now is a good time to launch the app because we have done a lot of the work. And this mobile app means not just a mobile app. It's going to truly going to keep you, alert, right, with any strategies. You can quickly activate a strategy, right? You don't have to go open your laptop or your phone, go to your browser, right? So it's going to be very, very intuitive. So I'm super excited for this. What about this one? I'm sure, because you guys seen it earlier. Okay. We are also working on Deep Sage mobile app. How many people in this room pay for any AI apps? Just raise your hand. That's quite a lot of people. That's quite a bit of good market. Okay, so do you use it for web search? Raise your hand if you just use it for web search, use it for deep research, maybe study materials, etc. Or if I tell you on the next version of DiffSage, you can do all of that. The next version of DiffSage, and that we're going to launch in 2026, you don't have to pay for another app. You will be able to generate image. You will be able to generate everything that you do. You can speak to, of course, as usual, we already support the voice, but voice will be supported on all the models. And also, it's going to have a lot of new assistant and, of course, a lot of new features. And that's going to come with the mobile app. So I'm super excited for this, and it's going to be a truly powerful platform. Now, my question here, and it's a question that we ask ourselves internally. It's a question that I ask myself. And that question is, what is our ecosystem true trajectory? Right? It's good that we are continuously growing, whether it is customer acquisition, whether it's the revenue, and etc. But when it comes to product, the question is, do our products slowly becoming outdated, or do they improve as time goes by? Improve or outdated? I would say it becomes outdated at this moment. And the reason I say this is because when SageMaster 3 we launched, and we look at SageMaster 4, there's a massive difference. So SageMaster was the worst version. SageMaster 4 is a good version. So whatever the updates that we have pushed so far today is the worst version of the platform, whether it is DeepSage, whether it is WoW, whether it's SageMaster, it will be the worst version of the platform today, right? And of course, the reason I'm saying this, if those of you guys didn't get it, is because every month is a new experience. Every month, the amount of updates that we push to increase the probability of success of our customers. So what you experienced a month ago, another month is going to be something new. And of course, 2026, which I'm not going to spoil it for you, is going to be a new level, not just this small bubble of this industry that we are in, but it's going to be a new level in the entire trading space. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the convention.